family sometimes loses. In spite of being a joint family, others are there, but the child wants the mother. So what happens?
Yeah. Other questions?
My question is that, is there any data or any observation that this guilt factor is getting down? The percentage of guilt is going down with generations.
Yeah. Of course it must be going down.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so does the guilt go down? I doubt it. But anyway, where others? I saw a hand up there.
I see my daughter-in-law.
And she's
not
too?
So guilty.
She's not?
As I am.
That's because you're a better mom.
No, as I was, she's not as guilty doing her work. So
we all want you as a mom-in-law.
So, no, I also had a mother-in-law, but yeah.
Over there? Yeah? Any questions on this side? Mike, use the mic.
Excuse me,
use the mic.
it's not a question, it's just an observation that I made when you all very happily, and I'm so glad because I also am a mother-in-law, I also have a mother-in-law, that all of you had such nice things to say. Otherwise, mother-in-laws cast in gold are also horrible. So I'm so glad that you've done it. But another thing what I wanted to just ask you is, of course, like the lady said about the guilt feeling, but how many of you have been asked, you're all successful, does any of you have a child which is spoiled? If I may ask, I'm sorry to be so candid. Spoiled. You know, because they say that the child is very vulnerable at certain stages of life. They can go astray because of bad company. And then it's only the mother to blame. All good things will be for the father to take the credit for. So is there some parameter, or is there some, though I know that working mothers, the children definitely know that the mothers are not partying, they're actually working. So most of them do not go off the road, but if they do.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we can take maybe one or two more, one in this corner, and then we'll come back here. Yeah.
Skidbhai, you have set up a very good institution, especially in India. Now a lot of us are working here. I just want to know, like, in what way it is upon the women leaders within the organization to tell the organizations too that a culture needs to be set up where women workmanship is to be nurtured. Like, for example, if you have worked in an organization for 10 years, 15 years, still the culture is such where that room is not there that, okay, you can develop or you can nurture your child as well as career together. So how do you tell the employers, or so to say the owners, that that culture need to be set up in what way?
Okay, great question. So let me bring it back to the panel for you to try and answer these questions as best you would like to. Okay, let's have one more. Okay, yeah. Mike here.
Simple question. Why, Naina, the power of only 30 women?
Well, you'd have got tired reading about it anymore. Is when I read a book and I'm typically fall asleep because I'm doing it quite late at night, it falls on your face. If it was any more, women would have broken your face. Yeah. Okay, let's come back to the panel. Yeah. So who wants to go first?
Should I?
Yeah. We'll come back for questions if we have time.
I think the question about the child falling sick, I have an 8-year-old. I probably took a very tough assignment when my son was just 1. And there have been several times that he felt sick. And I personally gained a lot because the organization had leaders who supported me and helped me prioritize. I think they prioritized for me that your family comes first. There have also been times when my mom-in-law and everybody at home is away, and I've had to pick my son and bring him to office. And there were times when I thought it would be odd, but once again, different parts of the company where I worked, they just accepted, this little child coming into, and I work for someone else. I remember Pallavi from the legal field was sharing about how her organization allows. But I think people at the end of the day are not. They're not all evil. They're all human beings. They all have children. And there is a lot of sensitivity and humanity. And it's not alone to the group that I work for. I think a lot of young companies, startups, a lot of them provide support. And as Naina rightly mentioned, in the same organization I came across different women, one who went out of her way to support me and one who probably would not have supported me. But, that's life, right? You try your best to make the best of friends and find the right partners. You get lucky sometimes you don't. But I don't think we should lose faith in humanity, and I don't think it's women against the rest of the world. If you want to achieve something, people do come and support you. There's a lot of goodness out there.
So actually, I work for PricewaterhouseCoopers. I'm a consultant, so we always have this thing about the client comes first, and he or she does. But no client has ever turned around and said, "I'm going to fire you because I told him, hey, listen, I can't do this meeting at 3:30 because I have to go to school." Nobody's done that. I mean, I have to plan, I have to think about things, but I will say, can I come at 3? Can I come at 8 in the morning? Can I come at 10? But 3:30 I can't come because, it is a real problem. So I think you have to, as someone else on the panel said, you have to co-opt everybody into what you're trying to do. And, you talked about the child with 106 fever. I hope to God not. But anyway, child with a very sick child and a deal. In a firm like mine, there will be 4 partners who will come around me and say, just give it to us, we'll deal with it, you go deal with your child. And, you have to trust them, you have to feel like they will do what you would do, and you have to then just give it to them and walk away and do what you have to do with your child. And I think we would do that every time.
And remember, we live in the age of technology. Makes a big difference. Right after I came back to India, I lost my dad. Mom went through a very difficult phase trying to cope, and I knew that I had to be there for her. So I went back and told my all-male managers, and I was setting up a lot of the business here. So it was an incredibly tough period at both work and home. Said I need to take 2 months where I'll work from home because I have to be there physically with Mom, but I can manage the work from home. I can call, I can use email, etc. Complete support to go do that. I did that, and nothing slowed down. Yeah, I stay up late any which way, so I had to do my emails late at night. That's fine. But, we have to start using the tools that are available to us. Technology is one of the biggest tools that's available to us to stay connected. We have to make full use of it.
So, taking that technology piece, today you would be able to be with your child as well as strike the deal. You can do that. Physically with your child and strike the deal over the telephone. You can do it. So I think at times that situation is not so relevant anymore. But I want to talk about the spoiled child. I have one child sitting here and she's certainly not spoiled. A child being spoiled, I don't think has anything to do whether the mother is working or not. You can have a mother's a complete homemaker sitting at home and the child could still get spoiled. So I believe it's the quality of time that you spend with your children. It's not necessarily the quantity. And if you are able to inculcate the right values, which you should, then even if the child is away from you, you have nurtured the child in such a way that the child is going to take the right decisions. And sometimes a woman who's at home, a mother, full-time mother, may not be able, though she spends the quantity there, she may not be doing the right quality, and therefore the child gets spoiled. So I think a child getting spoiled, there are numerous reasons for it, not necessarily a working mother.
Yeah. I had a husband who told me if it wasn't for him, I'd have a very spoiled daughter. Because he said you were so guilty you'd give in to everything. And if I wasn't there, she would be just absolutely a devil. And so I suppose I have to give him a little credit for that. I think I like him to believe that that is so. But at the end of the day, it is something that is very individual, and we all know what we want to do with our children. And it is up to us, and I totally agree with Jyoti. It isn't about the time you spend, it is how you spend that time and the attention you give. And there's enough statistics to show that. So
I think about the guilt, I just wanted to share one thing, that if you speak to a lot of homemakers, maybe older or even younger, I think a lot of them have so much guilt about not pursuing what they wanted to, or always these conversations that, like my mom-in-law was probably great at what she did, but she became a homemaker. And when she looks at the world today, she says, I wish I had not given up everything for home, but I'm living my dream through you. So I think there's guilt both ways. We are kidding ourselves if we think that we dress up and go to work and therefore we won't have guilt at 60. I think we're living in a myth. Either which way, whichever walk of life you choose, guilt is always going to wait for you at the end of the day. So don't wait for statistics for guilt to come down.
So you need 15 minutes for the vote of thanks? Okay, we'll actually really out of time, but let's quickly take the last couple of questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I also say?
Mike there, how do you deal with stress? The question is, how do you deal with stress? I will just take another quick question.
My question?
Yeah. Let's take your question.
My question was, I'd like all the panelists actually to answer who inspired you and why.
Oh, wow.
Like one panelist did say Lena inspired them,
no.
But why? I missed that.
Okay. Okay.
My last one is
ask a question.
Can I just bring everybody's attention to one point, which I wanted to tell to Avni? I read that book, Daring Greatly, which is the latest buzzword on vulnerability at Harvard Business School. It's a compulsory read nowadays, which I would recommend everybody to read because it talks about forbidding joy, talks about perfection, the shield, and what we women use, the numbing quality, which empowers women, in fact, if you can overcome all of this, and to excel like how you ladies have done.
Okay, so let's quickly, we're going to end this now. Okay, quickly, yeah.
You've all shattered the glass ceiling, so to speak. What I would like to know is,
Put the mic closer to you.
Yeah, is how do you actually delegate? This is what I struggle
with. How to
with.
delegate?
Yes.
Okay, let's, I'm going to start from Kaku, and we'll just go down the line quickly, rapid fire, answer whichever of these questions, and we wind up.
No, I would say from the point of view of inspiring, I've actually not been inspired with one single person. I'm inspired with anyone who has actually innovated and grown ahead. So my motivation has always been how to do the next.
Great, thank you. Keep going in line. Yeah.
So, yes, lots and lots of people and books that have inspired me. Lots of books in addition to people.
My father and my husband.
Yeah.
That inspired me. Yeah. Since we are short of time, we've got to be very, very cryptic with our answers. So move on. What was the next question?
Yeah.
Another question?
So other questions were about
delegation.
Stress and how you deal with stress.
How do we deal with stress?
Yeah.
Dealing with stress, again, is something that you have to find out for yourself. What is it that relieves you of stress is something that you need to discover. Everybody has to have some outlet. And some deal with it by exercising, some deal with it by cooking, some deal with it by reading a book, singing, any kind of hobby, playing the tabla also.
Or going to the spa.
Or going to the spa as well. As a matter of fact, I highly recommend that all of you de-stress at our spas.
You're impossible, Jyotsa. Always marketing. Okay, Avni, yeah.
No, I think lots of people inspire me. I've had the fortune of working with different leaders. But sometimes people of simple backgrounds inspire you. When I was nurturing my child, I had the fortune of meeting an incredible domestic help. She was my maid. She was all of 56. Her husband had lung cancer. She had children with different disabilities. But when she came home and she smiled and she had the will to continue in a city like Mumbai. And, she incredibly inspired me because, choices about going back to work, look at 70% of our population, all the women over there, whether it's urban or rural India. You have beautiful cases of leaders from that walk of life who can inspire you.
Yeah, Debjani?
I'll take the stress question. I think the one thing I'll say is find some me time. Even if it's once a week, but find some time that is just you. For you to do what you want and what your heart desires without anyone else telling you what you should be doing.
Including going to a spa.
Jyotsna, my me time is all about the spa.
And the gym, you said the gym too, Devjali. Yeah. Okay.
You know, on the stress piece, as well as I think it touches upon the question of I have a deal, I have a child who has running temperature. I can't underestimate the power of planning. You know, one of the things that my children falling sick taught me was knowing that anytime anything can happen, I might get a call that says, your child is sick, come pick her up from daycare, and I needed to be prepared for that. So just being prepared for something that will happen that day and making sure I'm planning and have my deadlines well covered has been tremendously important. And I'll also tell you, I mean, Devjani talked about how, you know, her managers in a blink of her eye told her 2 months, no problem. It was because of the credibility that she had built up in that organization. And that's, you know, it's all of the chips that are deposited in the bank that you get to take out at times of need. So use it for handling crisis, and it stands me in good stead. Today I'll get calls about my parents, and I have to make sure that, you know, I'm in a similar position and use it for your me time.
So great messages there. You see inspiration from anyone and everyone around you, man or woman, people from simple backgrounds, great leaders, books. It really is a question of what you see, what you imbibe, and indeed what you take forward there in terms of the qualities that are closest to you. And stress and de-stressing is really very personal, but you have to recognize when you are really frayed at the edges and that you do need to indulge yourself sometime and make sure everybody around you understands why you need to do that. And at the end of the day, you succeed because you